started to understand that the greenest building is the one that's already there. The greenest town is the one that's already there. We need to regenerate these rather than build new towns, etc. And that feeds into economic success, into democratic access, into sustainability. If we really mean it about net zero and these things we have to achieve, we need to be bringing people back into our town centres, reusing the shops that remain, reimagining other spaces, getting crafts in there, getting all sorts of stuff going on which brings these places alive and creates a vital, vibrant and forward-looking place.
Speaks to me primarily is around sustainability and reuse and repurpose. Second, thinking about the land use and availability of land. There's well-connected locations that are already there, and we're not drawing on greenbelt or going into more rural settings, and the connections and the connectivity and the relationship with existing amenities as well as existing homes, and kind of keeping communities together as well.
It's incredibly important. There are so many advantages to doing so, both from a net zero perspective, but also in terms of bringing vibrancy and life, economic activity and opportunity into town centres. And for us, addressing so many of the housing needs that we see in all our communities, particularly housing for younger people and for families and older residents. So we think that using community ownership as a mechanism to achieve this provides loads of opportunity.
Becoming as a huge resource of these existing buildings standing there, which are, take COVID, can you go a library for an instance? It's a big, robust building, relatively straightforward to agree a strategy with all the stakeholders about how we deal with it and make it happen.
Town centres are becoming less popular commercially wise. We need to make use of existing buildings.
The importance of civic pride in town centre regeneration is vital because, we always talk about sense of place, and I think, civic pride is important in relation to that statement, what is sense of place, and how these buildings really reinforce city living and town centre living,
It's absolutely critical. It's at the core of the proposals for Paisley Town Centre, where a private equity company has bought the centre on the back of the vision that was published by the local authority that we worked on, and is seeking to deliver that hand in hand with the council, but predominantly private sector funded.
It's really important we get people back into living in town centres, but it's also crucial that the facilities are still here for them when they do come here to live.
The important thing is to really recognise the needs of people. It's not really quite so much about buildings, it's more about human needs, thinking about digging deeper, thinking about demographics, thinking about town centres being kind of safe, welcoming, culturally vibrant.
Working with the communities, working in brownfield sites and the regeneration of the community was forefront of what we were doing in Clydebank. It's important that we worked with the communities to build a new community, working with residents, businesses, shops and owners.
There's so many things that make up a good town centre, and simply providing housing on its own can sometimes not be enough. I think there are other interventions that can really make a town centre work for the people that live there, also people visiting it, working in it, and taking a wider holistic approach and bringing in other stakeholders can really find out what those things are.
It's all about people and what people want, and it's certainly moving people back into city centres and town centres has to be a good thing, both in terms of social, economic, but also health determinants as well.
We also need to be thinking of the people that are going to live there, and we can't have people living in town centres if there are no resources for them.
To help coordinate future investment, future activity in the city. There's a fair few examples of where development, as much development as there has been incidental in some cases, and we're looking to really reinforce, create a more robust framework for that investment and that development activity to take place, so that the development itself is having impact on the outcomes, both at the national level and locals, and that's the thing at the core of it.
I think that the quality and the character that existing buildings bring to places is just so special, and so I really want to make sure that's preserved, and developing historic buildings and sort of the sites around them can really enhance an area and bring character and a new quality to it.
As an example of Dumfries, it needs to be quality and it needs to be affordable. So there's a balance there of how can you provide that in buildings which some of those were designed as housing, upper floors, some of which aren't. So what we've done is we've taken an approach where it's a mixture of refurbishing existing buildings but new build as well.
Without doubt, people living in the town centre will bring vitality and busyness and footfall that kind of creates an ecosystem that supports all different kinds of other sectors. But on the same hand, people living in town centres need amenities, they need good green space and connected services, and they need essential things like nightlife and healthcare and workplace.
It's about saving buildings that are of aesthetic and cultural value, but it's also about increasing footfall. In a wider sense, we also recognise that there are a number of elderly people, and we're having more elderly people. So we see it as a means to try and create a churn in the housing market and bring these elderly people back into the town centres where there is activity, where there are access to their services. So it's an isolation issue and a mental health issue, as well as just a physical development issue.
This series of roadshows have been hugely important to us in the development of the town centre living work. We've hosted 5 roadshows, 4 across the country, 1 online. We've spoken to 220 practitioners and discussed over 25 case studies. We've had the opportunity to look at the barriers, the complexities, and the opportunities to take forward from some of the great learnings that we have been discussing over these 5 roadshows.
They've been absolutely fantastic. We've heard about a range of different projects, but there's been a great variety of people coming together, sharing experiences, sharing ideas, but just being really positive about the potential of town centre living.
Town centre living is so important to how we live now, but also how we live in the future. We need to have more people living in our town centres to really create vibrant environments, but also how we can live in a more compact and sustainable way.
Housing brings people, and people bring spend, people bring activity, people bring resilience, people bring animation, safety and security for places. So all of these messages that we bring out from places, so town centre living is a huge part of the future for our towns, and help to bring other activities and enable or catalyse other developments to come forward in the future. So a key building block for the sustainability of our places.